How are you? My name is Lauren B. Welcome to the Untitled Tarot. It's Aquarius season. It's a very exciting time. I think coming after Capricorn season, there's still like a little bit of like stuck and stagnant energy. Before I came on, all of a sudden I was feeling very self-conscious and critical of myself for no reason, and I just knew it was like a little bit of that rust coming out of the pipes from all of these retrogrades that we've been going through, Capricorn season. So I'm a little winded. I have to have like a little miniature dance party like all by myself in this room, just to kind of like shake that energy off, because it's just been a lot. Hi Gertrude, hello, good morning, how are you? So I've been getting a few downloads about Aquarius season and what it may be bringing us, and so I wanted to come on just for a little bit today, kind of just flesh out some of those downloads with you. I had pages full of these channeled messages, and I had all of these decks out, and like just too much. I was doing a little bit too much, and again, I think that's very reflective of this energy coming out of Capricorn season, that you guys have been doing too much. You've been trying to use too many tools. You've been second guessing yourself. You've been too critical of yourself. And Aquarius as an energy, it's an innovator, it's a maverick, and it really prides itself on its originality. And so I think that coming into this new season, you're realizing that you don't need as many tricks up your sleeve as you thought that you did in Capricorn season. I think that you're realizing that you don't need to be as calculated or as strategic or even as on top of things as you thought you had to be. You actually just have to be living in alignment. And what does that mean? It means that you're being authentic to who you are. It means that you're allowing yourself to be an original copy and not just a copy and paste of everything else and everyone else that you see going on around you. And I think for a lot of you, looking back, you may be realizing that that was maybe the root cause of a lot of the blockages, those ways in which you were kind of participating in a mimicry of what you thought was going to work or what you thought was going to be successful. How can you mold yourself, right, into someone or into something that is somehow going to bring you what it is that you want or the stability that you seek? But when you're just allowing yourself to be who you are without that profound sense of criticism, it's so much easier for the divine to come forward and sort of just like kiss you on your cheek and hold your hand and guide you where it is that you want to be going. So I have the Rider-Waite Tarot out, and I also have the Wild Unknown Archetype deck, and I pulled a few cards, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, and these three cards have been sitting with me for days now, and they're for Aquarius season. The first download that has been coming in for the last 2 weeks is about a wake-up call. Aquarius season is bringing you a wake-up call. A lot of you have probably felt like you have been slumbering around, especially with Mars and Mercury being in retrograde, and again, Capricorn season, which even though, you know, it brought us into the new year, still was holding like a lot of the resonance of last year. And there's sort of this idea of like, it's time to get up and it's time to get to it. It's Aquarius season. Now is the time for innovation. Now is the time for invention. Now is the time to, again, like shake that rust off, shake that fear off, and really kind of get back to who the hell you are. The three cards that had come out were the River, the Dead End, and also the Gnosis card. And this was really interesting to me because the way that I was channeling it was this realization that a lot of you guys have kind of flown off path. This Gnosis is talking about like the original goal or the original point or that moment of self-realization that you had when you first had a spiritual awakening, and somewhere along the line you kind of fell back asleep and you tried to take whatever spiritual knowledge, whatever purpose, whatever path that you had, and you tried to fit it back inside of the box that is the world. And then you wondered why you hit all of these dead ends. The idea here was not to take you as, you know, a square peg and kind of fit it into the round hole that is the world, but instead you were meant to take these skills, you were meant to take these abilities that you have, this gnosis, this faith, this belief in yourself, and carve out a new place for your peg to reside. And I think in a lot of ways we kind of fail to do that. And so I think part of this wake-up call that Aquarius season is bringing is recognizing, it's bringing a humbling, truly, like recognizing all of the ways in which, like, perhaps we dropped the ball, we lost sight of our focus, like we forgot what the point of the whole thing was, and in a lot of ways we kind of flowed off of track. And so I think that Aquarius season is giving us an opportunity to bounce back from any perceived failures, from the dead ends. Because the thing is that when you allow yourself to be an innovator, an inventor in your own life, using all of the beautiful skills and qualities that you have, then you're bigger than the blockages. You have the ability to step right over them because you're inventing something new. Sort of that idea of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, and it never really comes, and then we get very frustrated and we feel abandoned by the divine. So we again try to start molding and shifting ourselves into something that isn't really who we are. And then we wonder why we get so frustrated and why it constantly feels like we're backsliding. So again, I think in a lot of ways, where are my notes? Let me pull my notes out for you. So I think in a lot of ways, part of what this wake-up call is doing, it's bringing us a little bit of a humbling in order to get us back on track. Yeah, flow too far away from the point or the purpose. So when it comes to these dead ends, these traps, what had come through in my channel is a lot of you guys got way too caught up in the traps that were laid out for you. And what I heard when I channeled that was that you made it almost too easy. That the last year or so for you, that there have been a lot of people that have come up against you. There have been a lot of situations that did not work out in your favor. There have been a lot of, perhaps for some of you, even like backstabbing or betrayals or all of the things that kind of get set up in opposition to us trying to make our way through the world. And the thing is that when those people and those blockages, when they arise for us, they're supposed to inspire a greater sense of self. They're supposed to remind us who we are. And in a lot of ways, when obstacles and challenges came up, we fell into them, hook, line, and sinker. We forgot in a lot of ways how the universe works. We forgot how people can be, that not everyone is on our side, and not every situation is set up for us to thrive in it. And I think in a lot of ways, we might have laid down and let life bury us underneath it, instead of getting back up and picking up a new tool or inventing a new way to make our way through those situations that still felt really true and integral to self. And I say that with no judgment, because I can look back on the last year or so of my life, and I look back and I go, damn, it was really easy. It was really easy for me to fall into these little traps, to get stuck into these little mind games. I did let those people get into my head, and you know what? I did let that situation stop me. And when those blockages went up, instead of leaning on faith, I leaned into self-doubt, and I leaned into self-criticism, and I leaned into victim mentality, right? And so again, I say that through no high horse. I say that because this is something that I've experienced as well. And I think that as I've been pulling in these Aquarian season energies for the last 2 weeks, it's been a wake-up call for me too. I'm like, damn, I made it so easy to take me off track. I made it so easy to get me in my head and to take my eye off of the ball. And that's incredibly humbling, because I think, especially when you're very intuitive and you guys are working really hard, there is that feeling of, I'm doing everything that I can and I don't know what else I can possibly be doing in order to make my situation better. And sometimes the best thing for you to do is to fall back for a minute and observe, to recognize the pattern. Aquarius is an incredibly intelligent energy. It recognizes the pattern. It's also an energy of social consciousness, right? Aquarius is a little bit of the philanthropist. It's the humanitarian. And so it is able to recognize patterns in human behavior and nature. And that's not just in the behavior and nature of other people, but also in the patternings of yourself. So another really big download that had come in was recognize the pattern when you're coming up against these dead ends, when you're coming up against these blockages, when things are not flowing in the way that you want. Lean on your gnosis. Like, where have you seen this happen before, David? How many Goliaths have you come against? When was the last time that something didn't go your way and you got so tripped up in your head, and next thing you knew, you were going down a spiral? It's so important that we recognize our own patternings and the booby traps that we fall into time and time again because we refuse to do something that's different. And I think that, again, Aquarius as the innovator, it's asking us to evolve the vision. It's asking us to evolve the way we do things and not to be afraid to shake things up, to try something different. There's sort of this feeling that a lot of you guys are still waiting on an idea or a prayer or a manifestation, something from a long time ago. And it's not that it's not coming in, but the idea is like, it was given to you, whatever vision, whatever prophecy, whatever promise it feels like you received from, you know, the spirit of creation, that it was given to you as a seed, and your job was supposed to be to plant it and evolve it, right? And I think a lot of us didn't do it. We just took the seed and we went, okay, this is it. This is the whole enchilada, and I'm going to wait for this particular thing. Forgetting that we were supposed to be like active participants in the growth of it, in the evolution of it, and how it's being curated and nurtured within ourselves and put out into the world, right? And so when I look back at this river card and it has this horse here, do you see this? Horses talk a lot about freedom, and they also talk a lot about sexual energy, which is something we're going to touch on in another moment. But when I'm looking at this horse here, what comes through is the idea that Aquarius season is asking you to take the reins of your life again. This is not about being hyper independent. It's not about urgency. It's not about hustle. It's not about any of these Capricornian type of energies. And don't forget, Capricorn, Saturn, it teaches us what our limits are. And it asks us to respect them, our time limits, our energy limits, when the environment around us is saying it's not time for that, which means it's time for something else. And that is innovation, and that is preparation, right? Something that's been coming through in a lot of the readings on Patreon and even a couple of the horoscopes I did for Instagram was this idea of like conceptualization, preparation, and then execution. And somewhere along the line, right around the preparation stage, we seem to kind of have a lost sight of ourselves, and we've lost sight of the things that we actually did need to do to like properly prepare. And that's why execution was incredibly difficult. And I also think that it was being contributed to by Mercury and Mars being in retrograde as well, which has been hellish and ghoulish for me, as I'm sure it has been for you. But now that we don't have any planets in retrograde until the very end of April, now that sort of like the road is open and you're being given back the reins of your life to actively and consciously co-create your experience, to make the decision to evolve, to try a new thing, to step forward in a greater sense of value for yourself, for your work, for your dream, for your life, and not settle. Because the other download that came through was A Million Reasons, and Spirit had played this song on my shufflemancy so many times I actually had to take it off of my playlist. And it's A Million Reasons by Lady Gaga. Typically when I do my nighttime meditations, for me, the majority of my day is set up to serve other people, right? My clients, you guys, my patrons, all of the other people in the world that have kind of been sent here to help. But my nighttime meditation is for me. And I had this realization the other night because they kept playing me A Million Reasons by Lady Gaga, and I didn't understand why. I was like, is there something about me or my life? Is there something that I'm missing? Is there something that I need to let go of? And I realized the song wasn't for me. The song was for you guys, and it kept creeping into my personal spiritual time until I got the message for you. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard the Lady Gaga song, but you know, you're giving me a million reasons to let you go. You're giving me a million reasons to quit the show. You're giving me a million reasons about a million reasons. But baby, I just need one good one to stay. And I think part of this wake-up call is that a lot of you guys might be waiting around for something to happen, or you're waiting around for someone to catch up to you, or you're waiting around for someone to kind of meet you on common ground as an equal, and it's not happening. And there's sort of this like almost like a little bit of like a common sense idea. It's like, is there one good reason that is enough to somehow make up for the millions of other reasons why these things like aren't working out, or especially when it comes to like personal relationships, back to this horse and this sexual energy. I think one of the unintended consequences of this interpersonal work that you've been doing is that a lot of you guys have put aside the idea of like love, sex, relationships, friendships, and it's because you've had such a negative experience past, right? And so rightfully so, you want to take a little bit of time out and you want to kind of get your ducks in a row. And I think that as you're doing all of this personal work, that somehow it's like love kind of crept back in the door, and now all of a sudden you're sort of ready to start making friends again. Maybe some of you are ready to, you know, invest more in your relationships. Maybe you're ready to give love, dating, sex a shot again. And the thing is that as they've been doing construction, they're building a bridge. Isn't that quite symbolic? They've been building a bridge outside for what feels like 800 years. I feel like that lady in the Titanic. Hold on. I might close the window. It's interesting about building bridges though, right? You done? Is that better? I think that's better. Where was I? Hold on. Everybody be cool. So the thing is that unintentionally, without you really expecting it, your little heart grew like the Grinch, like 3 sizes bigger than it was before. And now all of a sudden, this energy is pulling at your heartstrings, wanting you to try again, to try and make new friends, to try and create a new social circle for yourself, wanting to maybe give love or dating or sex and relationships a shot again. But at the same time, because we've been in Mercury retrograde, there are also people from the past that have probably been like poking up, especially in your dreams. I've been having like really busy dreams with a lot of people from the past in them, like even people I forgot that I knew, or people I forgot that I dated. They're like kind of popping back up into my field of awareness. And what I'm realizing is like a lot of them are pretty much exactly the same as where I left them. They haven't changed that much, but I have changed tremendously. And so I think that as your heart is opening up to friendship and relationships again, there's almost this feeling of wanting to pick up where you last left off, and feeling a little bit discouraged because you're realizing that, very much like me, people are exactly the same as when you last left them. And so the idea here is, because there's all of this beautiful, loving, open, receptive, even sexual energy that you have, to not waste it on dead ends. To not waste it on people, places, and things that still do not understand your value because they don't understand their value. That can't meet you as an emotional equal because they haven't done the emotional labor, right? Remember, Aquarius is the humanitarian. It has a sense of love and understanding for all people, but Aquarius also has excellent boundaries. This goes back into the gnosis. We're now in an air season. Oftentimes the wind can kind of shift the way that the river flows. And don't forget, a lot of what Capricorn was doing with those limitations was, you know, kind of putting boulders on the side of the river to direct it in a new direction. And so with this healing, we just don't want to waste this beautiful, sexy, loving, excited, open, vulnerable energy that you have. So in Aquarius season, you may have to make some decisions about who and who is not supposed to come back into your life, and maybe even like who is not supposed to move into the next season of your life as well. Because part of this million reasons also feels like people that you've been close to for a while, that like you've been giving a lot of chances to, in terms of like, again, if they're gonna meet you halfway, or if they're gonna invest in you in the way that you invest in them. And there's sort of this feeling of, how many times does someone have to show you that like they're not on your level, or that they're not as interested as you are, or they're not as invested, or they're not gonna meet you halfway before you finally accept it, before it clicks, before you believe what it is that they're showing you. And instead of waiting around for these friends or these partners to catch up, to just give you like the bare fucking minimum of what like should be expected in a friendship, or God forbid even in a romantic relationship, instead of just letting yourself go and meet new people. Aquarius season, air signs in general are pretty social. So I also think Aquarius season is really asking you to like put yourself out there a little bit more than you have, because personally it's very important, but also in terms of like profession and creativity, it also feels really important. This is a really reason for you to be like networking, to be exchanging, to be, you know, participating in co-ops and, you know, tarot circles and spiritual communities and all of these things. Like it's definitely like a communal time that's going to serve you in a lot of different ways. The Queen of Pentacles, are bringing me back to this card. The Queen of Pentacles came out the other day when I first pulled these 3 Oracle archetype cards, and it was talking about the importance of nurturing yourself in like a really responsible way. Like, what's the most responsible thing that you could do for yourself? It's probably to put the inner critic to sleep. The most responsible way that you can nurture yourself, and look at you, this is glowing. The most responsible way that you can nurture yourself in Aquarius season is to take care of your business, right? It's to set those healthy boundaries. It's to make sure you're not burning yourself out in your personal life and then it's affecting your work. It's important to make sure you're not burning yourself out at work and it's affecting your, you know, personal life. This is also the energy of grabbing hold of the reins again, back to this horse, right? These are kind of very earthy type of energies. And the Queen of Pentacles was talking a lot to me about management. And they were bringing me to the Tower card. Over the last month or so, whether it has to do with old people popping back up into your life, whether it has to do with these blockages or these dead ends, whether it has to do with your inability to accept yourself and celebrate yourself for exactly who it is that you are, there's sort of been a lot of Tower moments, especially internally. But on the Patreon, I had written an article about the Tower card, and this is something that we've been seeing a lot, and I'm sure it has to do, you know, something with you know, Pluto or Uranus, and it's kind of shifting over into Taurus, I believe. Don't quote me on that, I'm not an astrologer. The astrologer didn't show up to work today. The thing with the Tower is when we look at it, it's always typically interpreted the same exact way. People say that you've built on a rocky foundation. Anything that, you know, isn't rooted is going to be torn down, and it's a valid interpretation. I also think it's overdone and it's a little bit vanilla, and we could probably do better. Because when I look at the Tower card, not just in this deck, but in every single deck that I have, the foundation's always actually really sturdy. The foundation isn't crumbling in a single Tower card that I own. And I own about 40 different Tower cards because I have a lot of decks. But what is crumbling is the top of the Tower. And so for me, in the last few weeks, the Tower has been reinterpreted in my practice as a lack of oversight. And again, this is going back to realizing how times in the past, especially before you had like your big spiritual awakening, you didn't have enough oversight in your life. Your hands weren't on the reins. You weren't setting those boundaries. You weren't moving mindfully. You were, again, molding and shifting yourself to be very likable and pleasable to other people, even if you personally couldn't even stand yourself. And a lot of your spiritual awakenings were probably catalysted by the fact that you couldn't fucking stand yourself because you had made yourself picture perfect for the world, but meanwhile, like, you couldn't look at yourself in the mirror. And even though a lot of you guys are awakened and a lot of you guys are doing the internal work, I think that you're looking back over the past few months or the past few years and you're realizing ways in which you let go of the reins. When you let the world get back in you, you have to be in the world, but the world doesn't have to be in here. And it got in there, right? That's part of that lack of oversight. That's part of the falling into very well laid traps that were put out for you, right? By way of like dipping into old patterns and old behaviors that you still had and you weren't realizing it. And so now is the time in Aquarius season. Part of this wake up call is sort of the culmination of a lot of these Tower moments, kind of trimming the fat, taking off the excess, these things that got done, things that you built upon, things that you started that weren't really true to you. You just did them because you thought that they would work. You did them because you thought that they were clever. You did them because you thought that people would like them, because people would like you. And I think that a lot of you coming out of Capricorn season have been having some of these tower moments, looking at yourself like, son of a bitch, I did all of this work and I still don't like myself. I still don't feel home in here. It's a lack of oversight. And so those tops, right? Those thoughts, those beliefs, those ideas, they're crumbling for a reason. But what comes off of this tower is this crown, right? This strike of lightning. Lightning for me, it talks about wisdom. So I think a lot of you guys in the last few days and moving forward into the next couple of weeks are going to have a lot of these aha moments. That was the problem. That is why that dead end was there. I remember what I know now. I can flow in a different direction. I can use a different tool. I can take off the excess. I can get back to being myself. I can set that boundary. And if people don't like it, they don't have to come. And having to sit in that and feel strong in that and to really remember your value, because this crown talks about your power and it talks about your authority and it talks about your ability to be an active creator in your own life, right? And when I was going through these downloads and I had the shufflemancy on the song, what is it, Brandy Carlisle? Ooh, baby, do you know what that's worth? Who makes heaven a place on earth? There is this sense of being able to make your experiences, being able to make your work, being able to make your life, your relationship with yourself, your relationship with the divine, a little bit more heavenly, like a little bit more fun, a little bit more colorful. A lot of you guys, Capricorn season sucked all the color out of you, sucked all the joy and all of the fun and all of that childlike wonder, the poetry of life, and just sucked it right out of you. And I don't blame you, because you know what? It sucked it out of me too. Like it's been like a really challenging time. But I think Aquarius season is trying to wake you back up, to put the color back into your heart, to go, you know what? I do want love and I do want friendship and I do want community, but not like that. Maybe not with them, because I know better now. Aquarius season is going, you know what? I do want to be successful and I do want to make forward progress in my life, but I don't want to sell my soul to do it. And I don't want to become a caricature in the world in order to make it happen. I still want to feel like me. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense for you. And so I think that's a lot of just what this season is trying to bring you. It's bringing you a wake-up call. It's giving you a million more reasons why you should make a change, why you should let yourself evolve, why you should step into who you actually are, like 10 toes deep, as opposed to waiting around for the one reason or the one thing that all of these other people, places, and things could do in order to make all of the time that you've spent waiting for it worth it. Remember, when you're given a vision, when you're given a prophecy, when you're given a promise, it's a seed. You don't just hold it in your hand and go, thank you, Jesus, I will wait for it. You have to be an active farmer. If there's one thing about Capricorn season, I think it reminded you, again, with those reins, it's important to keep your hand on that plow. You got to plant that seed. You are the creative art director in your own life. The vision is supposed to evolve. The dream is supposed to evolve alongside with you and your own personal evolution. The Temple card had come out as well when I did this a couple days ago, and if you were on TikTok, you saw me do this because I sat on TikTok live for a couple hours and I was working through a lot of these downloads with them. And with this Temple card, it was really talking about the necessity, especially in Aquarius season, to really get back on top of your spiritual practice, your spiritual hygiene, your psychic hygiene. It's really important because I think that, again, when you're given a spiritual vision and you try and bring it into the world, but as you do that, you disconnect from the umbilical cord that is your connection to source energy, whoever and whatever that means for you, you get dried up and you don't have the emotion to pour in and water that seed. You lose the passion that you need to give it life force energy. Your thoughts become clouded and cynical, and so you don't have the ability to separate the wheat from the tare. And because you're not grounded in your sense of self, because you're not grounded within your creator, whatever it is that you think that is, you don't have ground to plant it in. This is why in the tarot we learn that you have to make your way through all four suits. You want to be the empress, you want to be the emperor, you have to master your mind, your heart. You have to be one with the world that is around you. not separated from it, but also not dominated by it. And you have to be connected to your fire. That is how you move from the minors to the majors. And Aquarius season is asking you to move out of little league and move back into the big game, because you got the stuff. Again, like I was saying at the very beginning of this stream, that I sat down to do this reading, and all of a sudden I felt very subconscious, and I felt like really anxious and like very critical of myself for no reason. And so I said, you know what, I'm gonna wait a minute, I'm gonna put on my music, I'm gonna have a little dance party and shake it out, and then I'm gonna come back down and do what it is that I'm here to do. And Aquarius season is asking you to do the same thing. You are not here by accident. You have a purpose, and you have a passion, and you have a vision and a dream for your life. And to be perfectly, the world is not fair for any of us, but you have been born in a time such as this with very specific skills and qualities and the ability to love, and like Aquarius, the ability to innovate and to evolve your way out of any blockages, and through faith in yourself, by not allowing other people determine your value, by not allowing other people's inability to love make you feel like you are unlovable or prevent you from loving the next person that comes across you. By learning these things, stepping into that gnosis, by staying connected to your creator, by investing more seriously in your spiritual practice, recognizing that it is the home plate of your life in which all other things pour through you and to you, you're going to be in a much better position by the time we get to Pisces season. It's almost like Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, right? And so Aquarius season is sort of like the third inning of a baseball game. Not that I know very much about sports, but again, it's asking you to move from the minor leagues, and it's asking you to move back up into the major arcana. So there is a higher level of investment in self. You're being asked to take yourself more seriously, but not too seriously. Because Capricorn season, you were taking yourself way too seriously. And again, sucking all of the fun and the joy and the color out of your experiences. Aquarius season is asking you to take your love and your ability to connect with people and the talents and the skills that you have and who you are as a person, like to take that seriously, to not second guess it, to not be so critical or doubtful of yourself, but not take it so seriously that you don't have the ability to be flexible, that you don't have the ability to, again, evolve and to try something different. I love Aquarius. I especially love Aquarius when it comes to the Fool card. For me, the Fool has always been a card of Aquarian energy, and it talks about originality. It talks about taking off that mask. It talks about letting people think that you're crazy, because what the fuck do they know? And meanwhile, allowing yourself to be different, to do the quiet thing out loud, to say the truth, not just in your head, but out of your mouth. To believe that there is a higher power that walks with you, that loves you, that wants you to succeed. And so I think that by investing more in your spiritual practice, instead of just like floating from one spiritual experience to another, actually sitting down as the creative director of your spiritual life, really investing quality time in with your gods, in with your ancestors, venerating them, getting back on top of, whether you set intentions or whether you're someone that likes to pray or whether you like to do spiritual baths or whatever it is, really staying on top of it so that way you can stay connected to your lifeline. So when you do feel doubtful, or when you do feel critical, or when it feels like your back's against the wall and you're having some kind of creative block, you're able to tap into something that is higher than you, that can reaffirm your sense of self, reaffirm your ability to be a creative thinker and a maverick and a mastermind, and allow you to push past those dead ends and grab onto something bigger. Bigger out there, bigger in here, and bigger in the world. Very good. Very good. So that's what I have. I just wanted to come on, very shortly, like a half hour or so, and just kind of work through some of these downloads that I was getting for you for Aquarius season, because all in all, like, they're really exciting. Again, it is bringing up a wake-up call. It is also bringing a little bit of a humbling, saying, hey, you made it way too easy for you to fall into shit the past few months, and to let life bury you, and to let other people get in your head and make you feel like you weren't worthy of anything. again, how many times have you seen the same Goliath, David? But with that humbling and with that wake-up call, it's also bringing you the ability to bounce back, and it's giving you a million more reasons to keep going and to be creative and original and innovate and push forward into a new era in your life, as opposed to waiting for the one reason to stay in the old cycle. You deserve better. So go out there and get it. I love you very much. I hope you have a wonderful Aquarius season. Also, as a side note, I'm starting a new schedule, a new posting schedule here on YouTube, so that way you guys know where I will be and when to expect me. So moving forward, I will be here probably on live stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So if you're looking for me on YouTube, you can find me Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, probably more so in the morning, but you know, whatever time I seem to come on. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I will be here for you. So that is the new schedule. I hope that you'd like it, and you know, you guys can know when to expect me. I love you very much, and I'll see you, what day is it, Friday? Yeah, I'll see you on Monday. Bye.